this seems to be a particularly important time for us to be thinking about immigration with our declining fertility rate and rising, elderly population. We have a real workforce growth issue, and immigration could be, I'm not saying it's a magic bullet or the whole answer, but we're going to need people. Is that, so it strikes me this is a particularly bad time to be locked in partisan combat over this.
Well, from an economic perspective, I think there is very widespread consensus among economists that immigration is good for the overall U.S. economy. Most economists will tell you that immigrants have a positive effect on native wages or a very small negative effect to some previous immigrants. So the economic evidence is pretty much out there. But I think one of the issues that tends to lean against that, at least from the political standpoint, is that, immigration is a very, very complex issue, and the immigration system is extremely complex. Courts have routinely compared it to the tax code in complexity. But the difference between the tax code and immigration is that, every American has some interaction with the tax code, and so has some familiarity and thoughts about what it should be or not be. But not every American has interaction with the immigration system. And so their understanding of the complexities and their positions on what needs to be done are a little bit separated from their own position. And so there are lots of misconceptions about the economics of immigration and whether or not immigrants, as I said, take jobs from Americans or lower wages, even though economists see it very differently. And to your specific point, the Congressional Budget Office just this week came out with its latest demographic projections of the future population of the United States and population growth and the makeup of the population and working age Americans. And they used those projections to do their budget analysis of bills that are introduced in Congress. So it's really important for them to understand how many people will be in the United States, how many people of working age, how many people of older age that might be eligible for benefits. And what they have said is that by 2040, that's not too long from now, all net population growth will come from immigrants. By 2040, we will have more deaths than births in this country. And so any growth in the population will come exclusively from immigration and immigrants and their children. And that is, as you said, because of declining fertility rates, we're having much fewer children. The baby boomer generation, which was one of the very largest generations, was followed by two successive very small generations. And this has a lot of impacts for future economic growth potential, for workforce growth, and of course, our Social Security and Medicare programs are based on a certain ratio of working age people to retired people, because it's the current working age people that pay the benefits for the current retirees. And we're looking at that smallest ratio ever. So if we have fewer people working, the ability to maintain our social insurance programs is limited, and that will cause very big fiscal challenges in the future. So you're right, for people who understand these things, and maybe this is an alarm bell we should all be ringing much more loudly, to say, hey, if we really believe that we should not have as many immigrants, that means we're saying we need a smaller population in the country, and that has a whole lot of economic effects on everyday Americans.
Yeah, that statistic about more deaths than births by 2040 just strikes me in a very personal way.